Give me the 3-2-1. Everyone's over here at the Detention Block AA23 podcast, where we've just come back from a brewery trip, and I think I still have a hangover from that Mudge.
Yeah, you enjoyed your beverages on that Friday, didn't you?
I sure
It was all the the detention box beer, right?
it was everything. I think I drank all types of alcohol. I think that I regretted it very much the next morning and felt very, very probably one of my top 10 hangovers out there that I can remember. So I guess I got my money's worth.
You did.
Yeah.
Well. The problem was you went from beer, then to sake, and then to martinis.
That's a misnomer. That's like it's not true. Like the beer before liquor thing. That is like it's no bearing on the strength of your hangover. It's all about water intake and pacing yourself. Which I did none of.
I think it's more just harder alcohol is you know a little more challenging. It'll get you a lot faster. So once you've already indulged on the beer and gotten to a pretty good point, then once you start throwing back the hard liquor, then it's only going to expedite everything.
Yeah, mistakes were made for sure, but
The fun was had.
we had an absolute blast, and it probably was the right length of trip, you know, mostly because it was just you and I, and we left our families behind, so you just inherently feel guilty. So we basically had what, like 2 days, 2 full days. We didn't get to my brother's place until like what, 1:30.
In the morning.
Yeah,
We got locked
on
out. Well,
Thursday. Yeah, and then Saturday or Friday, Saturday, and then we left, pretty early to get to the airport on Sunday. So, 2 day trip in and out. Had a great time. Good for my liver, pretty much. So, got taking a break from drinking for a couple days. I drink Monday through, or I don't drink Monday through Friday, well through Thursday.
and I got to play sober cab for the most part since I wasn't indulging in the drinking as much. Ooh, M Health. Is that a message?
This is when we were in the hospital with Bennett.
Oh, you got free one. Yeah, you get those big ones. That's right.
Well, this is like the small version. They were out of them for whatever reason. When we had Reina, they gave us like the big, the one that's like double the size. But I like it. I think they're like, yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get into it, but like, I like it. It holds a lot of liquid
Yeah,
and it's plastic, so I can't.
hydration is important. Drink your water. Um, but yeah, we're Detention Block AA23, a Star Wars podcast.
Are
We're
we?
we're already into the material. I'm Mike, joined by Dustin or Dash Rendar.
Yeah.
I think this is a new thing where you're just going to change
Right.
every time.
Oh, hold on, my mic fell. I'm just post up on the couch. I'm built for comfort, not speed. But right
You
over
motorboat,
here,
son of a bitch.
right over here, this is where I would push off those goddamn rock monsters.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
such a great game.
I know. And then I would go down with the jetpack and fucking taunt them some more.
Oh, the good things about the games. Um, so yeah, we're here to talk Star Wars, talk some Bad Batch. We just had two more episodes released. I completely forgot they were releasing two episodes, so it's kind of bittersweet. Sweet in the fact that we have double the content, bitter in terms of time and being able to watch all the episodes and then bring it to you, all you listeners out there. So, those were fun episodes. That was a fun ride.
I really enjoyed them. So Infiltration and Extraction, I believe, were the two.
Yeah, Infiltration and Extraction.
So did you give it the spoilers tag?
We will do that now. Thank you. So
Spoilers.
spoilers. We
Well,
will
I
be
would.
talking episodes 6 and 7, giving recap and our opinions. So if you haven't watched those, put us on pause, go watch them, and come back and listen to us. Go ahead.
Well, I'd be remiss to say if you don't get a chance, if you you know, if you go back and listen to the podcast where we had my brother on, it was absolutely excellent. We had a great time. Apologize for the audio. We used a dongle. That's
I
dongle.
still am trying to figure out what that means.
It's a little attachment that you can add some like USB ports. Well, we kind of overloaded the laptop a little bit, and every once in a while the audio would cut out. Mudge did a great job of fixing that. It's not perfect, but that episode was really, really fun. I do also apologize. You're probably hearing, my brother and I talk, and we sound very similar. So you're like, who the fuck is talking right now? I mean, even
Especially if
I
you're
do that. When I listen to it, I'm like, I don't know if I said that or my brother. I was also pretty drunk, as we started the podcast. So.
especially if you're listening it like through the podcast and not watching it on YouTube or visual streaming. So
Yeah, but if you get a chance, listen to that podcast. I think it was one of our better ones. It's nice to have that live presence. So
a little less Star Wars content, but still informative and a lot of fun nonetheless. And hey, it's part of our lives. So that's what this is too.
well, and
So
you get to learn about the brewery and kind of my brother's background and how that came to be. So that's pretty cool.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. I can't wait to do it again. I'm sure we will. Um, and get a little more Star Wars out of your brother. I think it was a lot of fun listening to him in the fact that he has watched some of the shows. Hopefully by the next time we talk with him, he'll have dive into the animated series, because I know we were trying to convince him on that.
I feel like that's doubtful. I feel it's much more likely that he would get into the High Republic audiobooks.
Yeah, I'd agree with that too.
So, I mean, he is busy and he doesn't watch a ton of shows. I just don't think those would pique his interest very much. I think the audiobooks would.
Yeah, you know him better than I would. But
I don't know, man. I learned a lot about myself this weekend and how much alcohol I can consume.
and we do apologize. I know on that podcast we mentioned we were going to be recording the next day, but we never ended up getting around to that.
For
I don't
why
think we got.
would that have been?
I don't think we got to the brewery until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then the Kentucky game was starting at 4, so the place was already pretty crowded. But it was funny because the couch was what was available when we got there, but there'd be so much background noise, and with the dongle, it would have been even harder to get the audio. So it worked out just fine. Well, like I said, we'll be back, and maybe we'll try another brewery around locally and get Zach to join us as well. So that Under Pressure brewery, maybe we'll give that one a shot next.
Absolutely. They would love to have us there.
Yeah, it was fun. And this time we could interact with the patrons and ask them some questions and give away some prizes and stuff like that.
That's also a really good brewery for that too, because a lot of the patrons there are nerdy, right? And that's by design. So
Yeah, what would you classify the typical audience for Mirror Twin Brewery?
well, it's in a college town, so you have a lot of college kids, you have a lot of,
Young professionals, I feel like a lot too.
young professionals, you have the old like hardened Southern, you know, blue collar deal, which, you know, those are some of the most fun people to talk to.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, a lot of mom jeans that we noticed during the like that's coming back, you
Yeah,
know?
what do we say? Guys' pants are getting tighter, girls' pants are getting looser.
Yeah, 100%, I would say. Yeah. So I just find it funny because Saturday Night Live did that little commercial about the mom jeans.
Oh, that's too funny. Saturday Night Live is coming back, I feel like. It's having a little resurgence, so I might have to give it.
I mean, that's good because I always liked it.
Yeah.
They were always fun when they made fun of both conservatives and liberals.
Oh yeah, you got to even the playing field. You got to go both sides.
Yeah, so like when they make fun of Biden, I think it's hilarious. I mean, it's same thing with Trump. It's just we're not a political podcast by any means, but you know, both sides deserve their fair share of criticism.
Well, and at this point, I think it's too easy to criticize both sides. I mean, how many times did we make the point of how has it come down to these two guys again? Like, this is the best our country can offer in terms of politicians. Like, come on. Anyways, we will move beyond that and dive into some Star Wars stuff. One thing I just want to call out before we go into the Bad Batch, according to People Magazine newsletter, what do you just call them? People now? Is it just People? Matt, you know what I'm talking about?
That was in the People magazine to begin with, so I don't give a shit what do you call them.
But Star Wars child actor Jake Lloyd is in a mental health rehab facility following psychotic breakdown last year, according to his mom. So sad to hear that. Hoping he's getting better and getting the help he needs. You know, mental health is definitely a serious thing and something that shouldn't be taken lightly. So, and I feel like a part of that has to do with the backlash from fans and toxicity that he received following the Phantom Menace, which was totally undeserved. So just feel bad for the kid. And well, he's not a kid anymore. He's close to our age, I feel like, maybe a little younger than us. But
Who is this again? Sorry.
Jake Lloyd, he's the who portrayed Anakin Skywalker in Phantom Menace, the kid.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's obviously the backlash wasn't great, but it's just tough to be I mean, to be a young child actor,
Yeah.
grow up in that scenario, to have like all the people know who you are and the crazy fandom and yeah, a million reasons why I think that would not be what I would want my kid to do,
Yeah. I mean, it'd be really weird if everyone knew you as a different person versus your own name. Everyone knows him as Anakin Skywalker instead of Jake Lloyd. So that's got to be tough. But glad to hear he's getting help. You know, never question it. If you need to talk to someone, if you need to get some things off your chest, or just have someone listen to you, go talk to someone, seek a counselor. It really does go a long way. I can speak from experience. So good for him. Proud of him for doing that. All right, so let's go into Bad Batch. Again, spoiler tag. I already gave that, so you've already been warned. I was very pleased with the
second warning.
Yeah, this is a second warning.
No, here's the second warning for
Oh.
me. I have some quirky criticisms for some of the things that have happened in these last two episodes.
In these two episodes? Okay. But you
overall,
said
overall,
okay.
Super great. Love the episodes, but like I just have some things I want to get off my chest.
Yeah. Do you want to get those off your chest as we go through them?
Yeah,
or
100%, because I know we're going through them and I want to bring them up in the moment.
Okay. No, that sounds good.
Oh, Rock Monster! Get him out of there!
Jetpack. All right. So first episode 6, Infiltration. So we open with a throwback to season 1, which was the episode Common Ground, with former Separatist Senator Avi Singh and his droid GS-8 being led by a hooded figure, which is none other than Rex. And I don't know if it was just you, but you could tell that was Rex right away. I know they're clones and their faces are the same, but I could just tell it was Rex. And it was about that time in the season where they've been talking about Rex. It was about time we see Rex. So and we see a mysterious clone trooper watching them through a telescope. And it's that same one we saw from episode 3.
Scope, not a telescope, you goofball.
Or sorry, yeah, the scope, not a telescope. And that was
from Hubble Space Station.
You never know. And that was the same guy we saw in episode 3, right? Where everyone was thinking it was Tech.
Oh yeah, you know what? That's okay, yeah. So I'm glad it's not Tech.
Yeah. So we put that to bed. Thank goodness. And they're meeting Senator Chuchi, which we've seen in previous episodes and in Clone Wars as well, I believe. and who has become an ally of Rex and the Clone Wars ever since season 2. Ryo sits with Senator Singh, and they begin their chat. Once enemies during the Clone Wars, they're now united in one thing, opposing the Empire. And I thought that was a really cool scene. Again, reinforcing that the Separatists and kind of not the Empire, but the people who were part of the Republic back then, they're now kind of on similar terms. It's like this whole new entity of the Empire is a common enemy now. So,
I mean, this is why you can't trust senators, though. They're always plotting behind your back. I'm kind of with the Emperor on this one.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Imperial clone moves through the sewers and sneaks into the building with the senators. Rex kind of springs into action here, and their men to protect the senator.
Greer.
What?
Well, so this is what I like. He takes out a clone trooper named Greer.
Yep.
And they do a comms check, and they notice right away. That seems pretty realistic, given the security detail, right? So that's how they were alerted to spring into action before he took the target.
Yep. So Greer, R.I.P. But yeah, it spurred them into action. And let's see. So they prevent him from being blown. They prevent the senators from being. What's that?
Oh, I was just finishing the synopsis.
Oh, yeah. So he prevents them from being blown up. And they follow him into the sewers, but the Imperial clone is sneaky and is getting away. But one of Rex's men ends up stunning him. And it's another brainwashed clone like we've seen in earlier seasons. And Rex and his men call these white clone troopers shadows. So kind of an interesting term. And it goes along well with your background, Shadows of the Empire.
Hey.
So they take this clone to Rex's base, which is kind of this hidden base, which is on Bomar Monastery on Teeth. And it's a callback to Rex's first appearance in the Clone Wars movies. So it's become Rex's base of operations. He's like collected a small squadron, I would call it, of clones. They also find this encrypted data puck on this shadow clone. And Rex tries to talk to the clone, but just not getting anything out of him. He's just completely ignoring him, not even saying a word or making any kind of noise. Anything up to this point from you, Dustin?
No, this is pretty standard fare.
Okay. So then we go back to Mount Tantus, and the clone commando, he activates another shadow trooper. So I don't know if this was through like the same thing like Order 66. Like, is this an implanted chip, or is this just like calling upon him? Because I don't know what they meant by activated, but nonetheless,
they explained that in the second episode.
Oh, I must have missed that.
These were guys that weren't like brainwashed. They actually bought into the Empire, but then they went through this training program, and it's kind of like a Spartan, where few survive, and the remaining ones are pretty much badass.
Right. But I was just thrown by activated. He must have just been called up. Is that just
no? I think they're like us. It's funny because he basically said, "Why the fuck did you wake me up?"
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah, I think they're probably like in cryo sleep or whatever.
Okay. So this is the one. So this new shadow clone now, Rex has a homing beacon on him.
Well, the old shadow had, because they kept him alive and brought him back.
So the new shadow one is now following the one they captured because of the tracking beacon that they have.
Yes, and they want to kill him because he's a liability now.
Yep. So this new shadow one is ordered to take him out, and also they didn't know about Omega being there yet, did they?
Nope.
Okay.
But she was on the puck.
Right. She was on the puck. So one of Rex's men interrupts the clone interrogation to review that the shadow clone was after both Sing and Omega.
His name was
Rex,
Fireball, by the way,
yeah,
which I
Fireball.
woohoo!
Dun, 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 dun. I mean, I guess they have to find new names for these clones, right? So then Rex sends one of his men to let Echo and Hunter know about this. Hauser, so we see Hauser once again, disagrees with Rex in keeping the Clone Force 99 away. Hauser wants to interrogate Crosshair, despite Echo already having done so, which Rex disagrees with. So Hauser just doesn't feel right with Crosshair still. He's like, you might trust him because you're his crew, but we don't trust him type of a thing. So, and then back with the bats, they're on their way to Rex's base to talk, which is lining up everything nicely because that's where the new Shadow Clone is going to. The batch arrives. However, Hauser is immediately hostile towards Crosshair. Most of his squad on Ryloth were killed because of Crosshair's actions in season 1. So Crosshair kind of has some bad juju with many people at this point. Echo stops Omega from going to give her a present, which is a new energy crossbow. So not quite the size of Chewbacca's crossbow. This is more like kid-friendly crossbow, but kind of an interesting weapon nonetheless.
My first energy crossbow.
Yeah. And it's kind of a pumping action one. I think you
Yeah. She didn't shoot it at all, I don't think, during this episode.
I didn't see it shot. I mean,
It's got a very distinct, like, yellowish green color. I didn't see any of those bolts going through.
Well, and I was wondering this too, because a lot of them were just stunning them. Crosshair wasn't. Crosshair was shooting to kill. But a lot of the other clones,
shoot and miss.
right, in the next episode, they were using the stun version. So maybe she didn't want to kill any of them. Maybe hers doesn't have like the stun function. So where was I? I lost my spot.
So he's the new shadows basically it started to infiltrate the base.
Yep. So he hit his ship in the Teeth Jungle, and he heads to find.
By the way, that fucking ship was awesome.
That was a pretty cool ship,
dude. That was a badass ship. Like if they ever came out with like a model of that ship, that was really cool.
It's kind of funny though how like there's always indications that it's a bad guy ship. Like this one, the lights on the back were red.
I mean, they're always just way better too.
Yeah. Well, hey, the Empire, they've got the money, so they've got the technology, right? So Rex brings the batch inside and gets them up to speed about Mega as a target. Omega joins them, giving extra context as to why she might be a target. She also brings up the M count. So we get that M count drop again.
This is my first complaint.
Omega doesn't know what those are, but Rex has heard of it.
Yeah, and doesn't mention anything more. He's like, oh, I've heard of that. Moving on.
Well, I think he just means he's heard it in passing. He doesn't know what it means, but he's heard it mentioned before. And it makes sense.
Relevant whether he knew or not exactly what it meant, what context he heard it in.
Right. Because he would have heard it because he was around Anakin, Obi-Wan. He was around Jedi. So I'm sure that's probably where he got it.
So why not use that? I mean, okay, again, like we're going like outside of the realm of like the writers and everything, but like if that's the case, that would be relevant information to tell them. Hey, I've heard that before from the time I spent with the Jedi.
Yeah.
And then that would give them way more information to understand where that M count is relevant.
Right. Put the pieces together type of a thing.
Yeah, instead of just saying, oh, I've heard that. Moving on. And then my second complaint, and I'm sure you'll get into this. Do these bases not have sensors, like motion sensors anywhere? Like that someone's like, wouldn't that be the first thing you did with like a tower that's like really high up is that you wouldn't have someone climb it? Like even in The Rock, the movie The Rock, like they had sensors everywhere to know when like things were tripped. And this freaking bozo's just climbing everywhere unabated.
Yeah, you would think you'd have something outside of, people just standing guard and look out, Star Wars technology. You've got to have something.
And that's another thing I find funny. This is not just the Bad Batch, But like any of these like shows where like the guards are patrolling, they're never like looking around. They're always just like looking straight forward. Like you are useless.
It's like a video game. It made me think of Zelda Ocarina of Time when you're like trying to sneak in the castle.
What did you just say?
Ocarina of Time, Zelda?
Orkiana?
Yeah.
No,
Tomato, tomato.
no.
Why?
Orkiana?
What do you call it?
Uh, hold on. I have to actually think about what I call it.
What?
No, that's not it. Hold on. Hold on. We're pausing. Not the episode, but
You can't give me crap about how I call it if you don't even know what you call it.
Ocarina. It's Ocarina. That's it.
Ocarina. Okay, yeah, maybe you're right.
Ocarina. Ocarina.
Yeah, you're right.
Good God. All right. Sorry. I had to interrupt this because as a nerd, I just can't let you get
Same thing.
forgetful nerd. So I had to Google it.
Well, at least I made an attempt at it. I mean, you didn't even know what it was.
You're awarded no points and make God Steven episode.
All right. Anyways, moving on. So the new Shadow clone gets to the base. He starts planting explosive devices on the ships outside.
Apparently the bad guy's always smart.
Right.
Like here's the contingency plan. Let's you know. Again, it always comes back to that quote, good is dumb.
So Crosshair adds some of the clones that are still loyal to the Empire, explaining the new Shadow clones. Hemlock tried to make Crosshair into a Shadow clone, as we know, but it thankfully didn't work. As a member of the batch, he's always been defective, as he puts it. Rex says they have one there alive, and Crosshair immediately warns them that the Empire is coming for that clone. So,
which they immediately disregard.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
it also immediately happened, like as they were talking about it.
It didn't. It did not. He said, we have to leave. And they say, we got to go talk to the Shadow.
Yeah.
And then they start having a conversation with them. So what they should have done, it wouldn't have made any difference because the ships were rigged to blow, and he would have just blown them up anyway. But like again, it's not very quick to action there.
Yeah. So this Shadow clone literally just walks into a room full of people. So to Dustin's early point, just makes his way in there without being detected.
Well, and then the dog growls, and they do that like tropey thing where she's like, "Oh, it's okay. We'll get you more food." You know what I mean? Like the dog growled because he noticed something was up.
Yeah.
And he just kind of, disregarded it again. A lot of tropes kind of going on this with these assassin.
And he's literally just like hiding in the shadow corner.
Yeah.
So he targets Omega, but then he stops and he lowers his rifle and he sneaks back outside. So I think he recognized her right away and was like, okay, I can't cause any ruckus here because I have to report that she's here. I need backup essentially. So he does, and he informs the Empire that he has eyes on Omega, and the Empire is going to be sending backup because they want Omega alive, and that's important here, that Omega gets captured alive. So the group goes to the Shadow clone in the cell. Crosshair immediately wants them to leave the base. The Shadow clone calls out Crosshair specifically, playing to Hauser's concerns. The new Shadow clone springs into action, blowing up all of their ships. After taking out the last Shadow clone, because he like shot through all of them and nailed him right in the heart, a fight breaks out between this guy and the rest of the clones. And in the fray, detonators go off, collapsing the room. And then the episode kind of ends with the Imperial ships, that are coming to the aid. And leading them is none other than Commander Wolf. So we've seen Wolf in Clone Wars. We saw him in Rebels. He's one of the three so you've got Rex, Gregor, and Wolf that are still fighting the good fight in the show Rebels. and it just kind of ends with that bomb being dropped that Wolf is working for the Empire and he's coming for this group. So
They should call the Shadow Trooper the Cat Trooper because he's got like 9 lives. Because when they fight, you know, the one guy, he like rushes him, gets shot. He's got a flamethrower.
yep,
Blows up that grenade, and he gets friggin' launched back, and then like all that shit falls on him, and then
yep,
all he's got, oh, he's just his arm's a little sore, and this
yep,
little transponder broke. Of course, they say he's dead, so
yep.
I don't know. So there's just some tropes going on that I just.
Well,
It's a cartoon. It's fine. It's just.
I know we've been talking about themes. This one's a little bit more of a stretch, but it was another franchise I was thinking during this. Can you guess? To that point that you just made.
The 9 lives thing.
More or less, yes.
Uh, like so many of those uh the Groundhog Day or something like that.
No, I was thinking Terminator
Hmm.
because he's got a target. He's going for the target, and there's all these incidents where he should be dead, but he comes back,
Yeah,
still in pursuit. So
that's not a stretch. I could definitely see that.
I don't think that was their intention. Like I think the other ones were more intentional, but this just kind of had a Terminator feel to it, and he even kind of looked like a Terminator in one way or another. But yeah, I thought that was a really good episode. To your point, there are some tropey things about it, but it's still an animated show. It's still Star Wars, and tropes are a major part of Star Wars. But
Well, they caused all the tropes, essentially.
yeah, well, I think it's a big thing that we see Wolf, and it becomes even more important in the next episode, which we'll get here in a minute. So,
Well, and you remember all the clones and stuff. I had no idea who he was until like the end of the episode 2.
for the end of episode 7. So, did you recall him after at the end of the episode 7? Did you remember who he was then?
No, not really, but like I understand like in the context of like his relationship with Rex.
Yep. They've seen a lot of battle together, and we know that they're going to come back together and be on the same team because of what happens in Rebels. So, and you were kind of you could tell in the end of episode 7 here that he was contemplating Rex's motives there. So we'll just lead into episode 7, Extraction. So at the beginning of the episode, the shadow clone guy, which was presumed dead, obviously not dead. So he emerges from under the rubble and resumes his search for Omega. Wasting no time, Rex, Omega, and Clone Force 99 attempt to escape the base and get back to their ship to contact Echo. Imperial reinforcements arrive and meet with the rogue assassin who survived the blast. The Imperial clone reinforcements discover the crew's escape hole, and before the commander can give an order, the rogue clone jumps in after them. The assassin intercepts the Bad Batch, but Crosshair holds him off while the rest of the group heads towards the ship. They manage to reach the ship and escape.
Shaky hands.
Yep, good old shaky hands. They manage to reach the ship and escape the base, but the assassin shoots them down in the forest, and the Imperial clones head out to search for them.
When people are being chased, is there no thought to like closing doors behind you so someone just can't like walk the same path that you did? Because like if they just closed the door to where the ship was, that that they had access to the ship, we're maybe not having this discussion, right? Like it's 2024 in our year of the Lord right now. We have access control solutions in our world, in our realm. These guys have freaking light speed spaceships that can't like figure out how to figure that out. That's all I want.
Apparently not.
I have to badge in to get to the door and work. This guy just walks through a door.
Maybe they just recognize that most every piece of technology can be worked around. So they're like, fuck it. We're not even going to bother to put in measures. Just come on in. I don't know. There was a pretty cool line in that shindig where Omega's talking with Crosshair, and Crosshair's being very cautious of Omega and making sure like she knows how to use the right or the crossbow and everything. And she was like, "You sound just like Hunter." And then he's like, "I'm even worse." I thought that was pretty cool. So again, like Crosshair definitely has this attachment to Omega that's like a fatherly figure. I mean, Hunter's kind of the more fatherly figure,
I
but
feel like he's more your uncle,
yeah,
where he's like, you know, perturbed.
yeah,
Like I mean, especially in the early episodes where he's like, "You don't even have a plan, lady." Like,
yeah.
but I'll help you because you're hopeless.
So do you think Crosshair is one of the most like intelligent one, like survival mode of the Bad Batch?
To me, he is by far the most lethal and specialized in their group because again, he would notice as they were being chased that they were being chased,
Right.
right? Like his actions are really intelligent. His
Right.
actions are really like what you would imagine would happen in real life. Whereas some of the other actions of the different clones, like again, you know, not to knock on Rex, but like the first thing that Crosshair said is, "We got to get out of here," and he just basically ignored him, you
Yep.
know. And then now he's noticing that they're being followed by the guy, right? So kind of foiling the Shadow's plan of tracking. Now he's shaky hands, so he can't deal with the problem effectively.
Yep.
But
Well,
it,
and I went back and I listened to our last episode and or not the Mirror Twin one, but the one before that. So 2 episodes ago. And I totally forgot to mention one thing, which kind of goes along with all this. And it was probably one of the most important things of that last episode where Crosshair just like unloads on Hunter and was like, I had the coordinates. I gave them to you for like Omega's safety. I told you to get her out of there and get there, and you did not listen. You are the reason why Omega was captured. And that was a huge bomb. And he's right. He was right. So who has Omega's best interest in mind? Maybe Crosshair does, at least in terms of safety and survival. It's definitely Crosshair, and he's definitely the best soldier out of all of them. So to the points that you were just saying. Once the group crash lands, Hauser admits that he can tell Crosshair has changed, and he asks why. And Crosshair delivers like the speech about loyalty as why he left the Empire. Like loyalty is important to him, but loyalty has to be two ways, and the Empire wasn't loyal back to him, so he cut his loyalty there. And clearly, even throughout everything, the Bad Batch are still loyal to him one way or another. So then he can direct his loyalty back to them again. The Imperial clones cut off the Bad Batch en route to the extraction point, but Clone Force 99 cuts through them really easily. The assassin kills Nemec, and Crosshair holds him off once again while the group moves towards the extraction zone. Crosshair and the rogue assassin kind of get into it one-on-one. This kind of reminded me of what Behind Enemy Gates. It's like sniper versus sniper. Not, I mean, Behind Enemy Gates
enemy
was,
behind the gates.
yeah, and is that what it was with the two snipers?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they weren't quite
Maybe
at
McGregor,
close
I think, was
combat.
in it. Or is it Jude Law?
Jude Law was one of them.
Yep.
The girl from The Mummy, wasn't she like the lead
I
female?
just remember the two snipers. I don't remember.
So it was Jude Law, and who was the other one?
I remember like the scene where the guy basically sticks his head out on purpose and gets shot, so he would know.
Give the indication of where the sniper is.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was a brutal movie too because that showed
Oh,
you
it was. It was a very. It was a good movie.
The Stalingrad siege where the generals are basically telling their guys to run
One
into.
person gets a gun, one person gets a clip of 5 bullets, and you work together.
Well,
Man,
it's not just that, but like they're clearly running into they're running to their deaths, and the generals say you either do that, we kill you or they kill you. It's like,
Right. Well, weren't they paired up in twos? One given a rifle, one given a clip.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, they have this kind of sniper battle that starts from afar and then becomes close encounter, fighting with knives and fists and everything. And it looked for a second, I thought Crosshair might actually get killed off here. Because just figuring, these guys are probably going to be dropping off by the end of the season. I thought this might have been Crosshairs. But it wasn't.
thank God too, because he is my favorite character.
Rex swoops in the last moment and rescues him. They do make it, but
Of course,
the shadow guy falls off or falls the waterfall.
Why does Rex have his fucking thing set to stun? It makes no sense.
Well, that's kind of how they've always went into combat with fellow clones. They always stun them.
They were not shooting stuns. They were shoot to kill. Like when the first ship came down, they were shooting to kill.
No, they had the stuns in that one too.
Dude, I almost
but not Crosshair. Crosshair was because he was the one that was actually shooting and killing them, and he shot down like the pilot, where you see like the two other clones jump off to like their deaths.
Yeah, they had the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, Wilhelm scream. But so some clones were shooting to kill, some clones were using stun.
Okay, well, I don't know. Of course, this is another trope where they stun the guy, he falls off a giant fucking waterfall. Lo and behold, he's still alive at the end of the episode.
He's a Terminator, man. You can't kill a Terminator. So they make it to the rendezvous point. So the ones that are left, but Echo isn't there to meet him yet. Instead, it's good old Wolf. He's there. Their shuttle flies and lands. A bunch of troops. They're totally outnumbered. Wolf tells them to drop their weapons, and Rex notices who it is, and they get into this conversation. Again, about loyalty. Wolf lets Rex and Clone Force 99 escape after Rex was like essentially telling him to trust him to do the right thing. Omega and Rex were telling him about what's going on Tantus, that they're using clones as, science projects and testing and everything. Omega says, confirms it. And yeah, so he does end up letting him go.
But my thing is like, if he's gonna let him go and know now he's a traitor to the Empire, why don't you just join him at that point?
Right. Which I think it's going to get to that point. But does that mean all those clones would join him too? Probably.
That's nothing. Like, there's not one clone that's like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, I mean, I get, like loyalty and all that stuff, but I mean, the one at the end, he's like, well, because he said, well, we need to, gather the bodies of our enemies. He's like, but they're traitors.
Yeah.
You just let him go. You had a problem with picking up the dead bodies of the traitors, but you're just gonna let the other ones go? Like,
right. Wouldn't that make Wolf a traitor for letting him go? Yep. So the episode finishes to what Dustin said. So the Shadow clone survived the fall. And he crawls onto shore. Then we pan to the crew on the shuttle. So is that Echo shuttle? Yeah, that's Echo shuttle. So does that mean the Marauder is blown up? Is that gone?
What? No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's right, because they arrived on Echo's ship, so they're probably going back on Echo's ship to where the Marauder is. So on Echo's ship, Rex and Hunter share a moment. Hunter tells him that the Empire is too strong and he can't win, but Rex refuses to get up. He tells him that to truly keep Omega safe, they must find out what Dr. Hemlock wants with Omega.
Except I won't tell you about the thing I heard about the M count.
The M count. I can see. I mean, I get your point, and it's totally valid. But I can see him just being like, I heard that somewhere. I don't know. I still don't know what it means. So I'll look beyond it. But again, two great episodes, action packed. Really felt it really felt Clone Wars-esque to me. Um, so definitely felt Star Wars to me. And I just love this progression of continuing the story, not like side missions. This is part of the primary plot line of where we're going. So
So I don't want to. I am this episode complaining complainers complaining Mick Complainerson or whatever you want to call it. But
Debbie Downer.
so they found Omega, this clone now reports back that they have Omega, and all they do is send two carriers to get him. You don't think like I mean it was established very early on in the season that Hemlock had the full resources of the
Yep.
Empire to get what so they send two, by the way, clone trooper detachments, which they already I mean you could I mean they're already they don't trust clones, right? The Empire. That bothers me a lot. That's a huge plot hole to me.
Well, I had that same feeling when I saw two ships. I was like, mm, if this is Omega and this is like a primary objective to the success of this mission, and you're only sending like two squadrons of clone troopers, that didn't make much sense to me either.
One thing we didn't talk about, one thing I did enjoy, and I enjoyed a lot, but like I really enjoyed the combativeness between the Shadow and oh shoot, what's the other commander's name? That
Wolf,
Rex Wolf. I like that.
yeah.
You know, it made sense that they, because this is funny. The guy shot the. You could clear like the Shadow. He didn't give a fuck about bringing her in alive.
No.
He was shooting to kill.
Yep.
So, you can see where the mission was to keep her alive, and then Wolf is like, "Hey, what the fuck, dude?"
Yep. Well, what I really like too is like getting a little more insight of this whole clone. I'll just call it clone civil war. So you've got clones on both sides and like trying to figure out which direction is the right path for the clones. I mean, obviously, as viewers, we know like the Empire is not the right solution for clones because, to your point, the Empire doesn't trust clones anymore. And we saw previous episodes kind of in that same vein. I remember that one where the clones were at that bar and that one clone was like, something's wrong here. We need to question, the Empire and everything. So getting more of that is really cool because you got Wolf, who's a commander in the Empire, and then you've got Rex, who's, just as prominent of a figure of a clone back in the Clone Wars, and they're on kind of two opposite sides. And we saw something with that with Cody in a preview from season 2, but Cody, I think Rex got to Cody and Cody fled the Empire.
You know what's
So
funny is, you know, the Empire brought in stormtroopers because they were worried about the clones. In the sequel trilogy, it's that same thing that happens where Finn defects
yeah,
because he sees the craziness of the Empire.
yeah,
It's kind of a parallel there.
yeah, for sure. And I think in this, we are still seeing like the early versions of stormtroopers. Their helmets look a lot like clone troopers, and they're mixed amongst the clone troopers, so that they're there. It's just sometimes hard to tell. And then you've got those clone commanders that are from that clone commander game. That was pretty cool. So yeah, I think that wraps it up for these two episodes. Very curious to see where we're going next. I mean, we're about halfway through. Still haven't had Asajj. Still haven't had Cad Bane. So we're going to be running into them soon. They probably should have sent Darth Vader or at least an Inquisitor on this mission for
Again, I
Omega.
mean, that it just really bothers me. It doesn't make sense. It feels like poor writing, especially when you've given us like the setup that, I mean, the guy literally, the Empire literally said, "You have all of my resources at your disposal to get this on. This is of the utmost importance." So I'm just thinking, like, whoever didn't send the full might, they're getting fucking fired.
Force choked, getting killed. See, so the good guys aren't always the incompetent ones. Even the Empire, or even the bad guys, can be incompetent. But so with that, I will just speak to our handles really quick. So you can find us on Twitter at DetBlockAA23pod, on Instagram at detention_block_AA_23, and then our Facebook group and YouTube channels, Detention Block AA23, a Star Wars podcast. And yes, on TikTok now at DetBlock AA23. Man, it's crazy what TikTok can do for views.
Well, it's just because they're easy, right? People scroll through them because they're so goddamn addicted.
Hey, every little bit helps. So, any final thoughts?
I love the season. There's a lot of really cool nuance and some lore to the Empire and stuff that I'm really enjoying. I know I was very complaining these couple reviews, but hey, I call them as I see them. I still love the content, I still want to keep watching it, and I'm appreciative of it. It's just, when they make some blunders, I think like two things can be true. You can still love something and also question some of the poor decisions within that art that you love.
Yeah.
So
I mean, even Empire Strikes Back had some of those questionable moments. It doesn't make it not a good product. Like,
I can
why
keep
are the
Big
snow
Mac.
speeders flying straight on to the AT-ATs?
Yeah.
Like, their guns are only going forward. Fly amongst the sides.
I can eat a Big Mac. No, like it's delicious, and also no, it's gonna fucking kill me. Like, and give me horrible diarrhea.
Well, that's a given. Yes, it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be one and the other. And that's a lot of what Star Wars is. It's
Hey,
fun to point fun of at times. It's all out of fun laughs, but it's great content, great storytelling for the most part. And
speaking
very,
of diarrhea,
oh boy.
I introduced you to the TED show, or didn't I? This
Yes.
that was what we did when we were hungover. We watched a couple of those episodes.
When we were hungover, excuse me.
Well, sorry, I just assumed everyone in the world was hungover. That's how I felt. But
I think your mom and I were the only ones that weren't hungover. And Aiden. And of course Aiden.
yeah, the 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I just find it funny. He goes up to the car, and the first thing, uh, the dude gets. I have diarrhea.
Yeah, I do need to. We got through what, 4 of the episodes, I think, while we're there.
It was
So,
only 6, so you don't
oh,
have much to go.
only 2 or 3 left that I gotta watch. So
Mm.
it was really good. It is super good. It starts off really well, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Um. So yeah, with that, I will wind this to an end. I gotta edit this because I have to get up at 4 in the morning tomorrow for an 8 o'clock flight, and I don't land back. So I fly out to Chicago at 8 in the morning. I arrive back at 11 at night.
Why do you have to get up at 4?
My flight's at 8. I got to meet them at 6.
Who's them?
My coworkers.
Oh, yeah, dude, that sucks. And you're still. Wait, you mean tonight? Like this morning?
Coming up tomorrow morning. So in what, 5 hours and 10 minutes, I got to get up.
Jesus Christ, dude. You go to bed.
Well, I have a hard time falling asleep before 11 o'clock anyways. So, but I got to
I
edit
think
this
you can
anyways.
edit tonight. I think you can worry about that. We don't need to release this till Monday.
True. So,
It just released. I mean, you can edit this part out. This
no,
is just
I'll keep it in. Hey, it's all part of the fun.
my part of the sausage. Well, you don't want to cannibalize views of the episode we just released, so I would wait till Monday. So don't keep yourself up editing this.
Yeah, I I probably will wait on it. So,
Just looking out for your health, bro.
my clots, not my clots. So to that point, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day, rest of your week. And we look forward to the next Bad Batch episode, which will come out Wednesday. And we'll bring you our review for that as well. So with that, as always, may the force be with you.
And also with Devin Williams back.
Oh my gosh. Stress fractures.
Yeah. That's a bummer. He's a St. Louisan. I love to watch him pitch.
At least there's been some good Packer news. So all we get is